G'day everyone, my name is David Mine. Welcome back to First Time Reefer TV, and it has finally come to the stage where we need to start scaping my tank, and I've been dying for this day to come because there's been a certain technique of scaping that I've really wanted to try, which I saw on the Marine Cost YouTube channel, which is a YouTube channel based out in Korea. And they basically use super glue to create all of their scapes, and you can get some really intricate styles, as you can see with this piece that I've started back here. BRS TV and Tidal Gardens have also used this technique. Unfortunately they beat me to it, so it's going to look like I copied them, but yeah, this is from Korea. It's very popular in the Asian reefing scene, but not so much the Western. So as you can see here, I've already created one scape, and we're gonna go through, because I wanted to do that and complete that first, just so I can sort of learn the techniques myself, practice them, then I can give you some really good in-depth knowledge on how to do it. So first off, there's obviously a bit of prep before I get to this stage here, and I'll throw you over this video that I did with Aston so you guys can see how we got here. Can you see it?
Yeah. Right now, we are topping the rocks up to make sure the tank is going to be next time at once, right? Isn't that right, Dad?
That's it.
To record, Dad. I pressed it to record, Dad.
Huh?
See? That's the rock, guys. Like that, and Dad topping the last rock. And
How's that look, Aston?
good, and my dad said we're doing it to record. So, I hope the video subscribed your channel at also once. So, subscribe anytime, and we're keeping the powder to glue the rock. So, yes, Dad topping the rock. Now, it's getting the rock inside there, and we're going to carry it to the next tank, right?
Yeah, so we can start using it to scape, can't we?
Escape. Big rock. Can I just smash it down there?
No! What are we doing?
The wind smashing the lift of a rock, and it's safe for you to do with a kid, because that's okay if a grown-up's not doing with a kid, because then it's you're making it to powder, right?
Yeah, can you show them on the camera?
We're making it to powder exactly how we are. See that?
So we just smash all these pieces.
See that? That's powder.
Some of China's finest.
China's finest. Why did you say that?
I don't know.
So, I'm hammering the rock.
Not too crazy.
I can't do it, too heavy.
It's too heavy.
Yeah.
So as you can see from that, this is just all that Marco base rock that's been smashed into pieces. And when you do smash this, you do want to try, depending on the style of scape that you want to do. Obviously the one I've got here is very branchy. So you do want your pieces to try and be as sort of rectangle as it possibly can, because it makes it a lot easier to create these shapes rather than just be a big chunky boulder like that. We won't be able to use that in the branching style part of the scape. But that could be a nice base rock or something like that. Then you've got all these small sort of knobbly bits that are like nuggets of gold, because you can do like little pieces of shelf that just look really natural, just little knobs that hang out like that. So you don't have to have little shelving pieces like this to be able to create your platforms. It's just little pieces that are like that just really add that character. So make sure you guys can see that. Plenty of character in that rock, and it looks really good. So here is the Marco Rock powder that I've powdered up. We used a hammer in that video, but I actually saw a comment on one of my posts to use a mortar and pestle, which I've had one laying around for years and have finally put it to good use. So I just got that into the mortar and pestle and just smashed it up into a powder. There's some pieces that you just won't be able to smash up, which I use. So I've graded them into a little bit of a larger, like a sand almost, and that's really good for filling in gaps before you finish off the seal with the powder, because obviously it's a lot of work to get to this powder. And then you've got these all little bits, ends and pieces. These are fantastic for filling in gaps like that if you don't want it to have an opening. And then you sprinkle the powder and then you can seal it off. So that's really important, just to have a lot of these laying around, because you never know when you're going to need it. So in this video, I'm using the same glue that Marine Cos uses. This is the Axia 911 cyanoacrylate super glue. This comes from Korea itself. There's only a couple of stockists in Australia, and I was sure to clean them all out before I release this video, just to make sure that there was going to be enough stock for myself. But I am trying another couple, and I'm probably going to bring something in myself that's going to be a really affordable option for you guys to use as well. So if you guys are interested in the glue, be sure to hit me up on Facebook, and I'll be able to sort you out. But you can see the glue here is really watery. That is like literally as thin as you can possibly get on super glue, and that's really important because you need that water, like that thin wateriness, so then it can wick through this powder, and you'll see the chemical reaction that happens. I don't know what the chemical reaction is, but a bit of smoke comes up, there's a reaction with the sand, and it gets super hot. But once that reaction is done, this shelf here has broken a couple of times, but every time it broke, it was never at the joint. It was actually the rock that was breaking. So I've reinforced that a lot now. As you can see, I can put a fair bit of weight on that, and it doesn't move. And then, you know, we'll go through the process of how to do this as well. Now, the fantastic thing about using this method is you can't physically see where these joins are, because you actually use this powder to go over the top, and it just looks like rock, man. Like, this is an awesome method. Super fast compared to any other method that I've done previously. I've used Selly's Aquaneated, I've used Stone Fix. They're probably the main ones. A bit of super glue as well previously, but like a thick gel super glue. And I was a huge fan of that because they do a really strong hold. But you know, with the Aquaforest Stone Fix, obviously it leaves that cement sort of color, not ideal on white rock. I know it eventually gets covered in coralline algae, but not in, until then you've got to actually deal with it. But this, you just physically can't see it. It sets at about 10 to 15 seconds, and you can literally just keep moving on to the next piece. You can build it out. This piece here, I reckon if I did this in any other method, will probably take me 10 to 15 hours, but I reckon this one here, including time, sort of just staring at it, I've spent maybe about 5 hours on this. So, and you can see that it's rock solid. I do have to go back through one more time just to fill in some gaps and just strengthen a little bit of that curve a little bit more so it can't break, because obviously there's going to be a bit of flow on this and a bit of coral stacked on there as well. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't topple over, but I've actually used one of these stacks, I think they're called stacks rocks, which is literally just the Marco rock, but it's been cut into a super flat piece, completely flat, and I'm using that as a footing and then building up the rock off the top of it. Now the Marco rock comes in the base rock, which I've smashed apart here. We've got some beautiful shelf rock as well. These are gorgeous pieces, and it makes scaping so easy because they already look so good, and it was just yeah, super simple for me. So I'll run you through the process now. I'm going to bring the camera a little bit closer. You're not going to see my beautiful face, but I'll go through as much detail as I possibly can, and I would love for you guys to share this video around if you do love the scape, because I reckon the more people that get into this style of scapes, man, the possibilities in your aquarium are going to be endless. And being able to smash a piece of rock, gone are those days of just a big wall of rock stacked into your tank, which I've never been a fan of. purely because I come from a freshwater aquascaping background, and I just wanted to bring a lot of that over to the marine side of things. And all of my scapes have been sort of that style, but this is by far the best scape that I personally have ever achieved, and I'm so proud of it, and I hope it motivates you guys as well. So please share this video around, and hopefully we can get quite a few people doing this style of scape too. So now we've got all the rock laid out on the table. It's really important that you do take the chance to step back. Like this panel here is the sort of footprint that I wanted my scape to be, and it's approximately 6 foot by sort of 2.5, close to 3 foot. And because the tank is 8 foot by 4 foot wide, it's going to give plenty of clearance around the front and the back and the sides for those big, massive colonies of coral to grow out to. So it's really important to understand what sort of footprint and area that you have to work with. I've got a tape measure here so that I can just quickly measure the size of my scape to make sure that, you know, it's within size, especially the height. If I look here, that's sitting at about 260. The tank's 450 deep, so it gives plenty of clearance over the top of coral. But it's really important just to keep measuring your scape just to make sure that it's going to fit to your table. So tape measure sits there. Protection at all times, because protection is extremely important. I've got one sort of just safety glove here with a bit of rubber on that side that's quite abrasive, so I can just quickly rub stuff over, and that's what I squirt the glue with. And then I've got this latex glove here that I use to sprinkle the powder, and I just find that, oops, I don't get tearing too many gloves, because we are in lockdown here down in Melbourne. We are in stage 4 and have been so for quite a number of months. So I have been going a bit loony, but I'm not going to be able to duck out to the supermarket to get anything. So it's now more gloved up. Like I said, the glue is the Axion 911, 50 grams. This is about 10 bucks a bottle. And in the first scape, I used a heap of glue, purely because I was just learning how to use it. But as you can see, super watery, comes with a really fine nozzle, just snip it off and away you go. And then just have yourself really organized. I've got my powder here, I've got my bigger rocks, my granules, the rock sort of laid out how I want to have it. So I do want it to complement this scape here. So I'm probably going to continue a shelf there and just run it down. It's probably going to be, you know, not as intricate as that one, because that is the showpiece over there. But as you can see, I've got a my base rock that's in the middle here. And then we're going to start. So the first things first is to work out which piece is going to be your base rock. Now, I want the scape to sort of go diagonally up that way and then branch out over here. So I've got to think ahead and think about, you know, mounting points on this piece of rock that I'm putting on here to begin with. So this one, if I've got this flat side here, I can create another rock to go into that quite well. And from there, I can do one of these, or maybe that piece there like that. And then that piece there like that. That would be pretty good. So, you know, that's going to be my first arch there. And that was pretty lucky just to grab a few rocks and be able to do that. So, get the cap off the bottle. Now I'll do a few shots of how I glue this so you can really get a good idea of how I do it, but we will start off by gluing this piece in.
Now the process is pretty easy. Just get the two pieces of rock together, as you can see here. Just get the powder and fill it into the gap and squirt some of the super glue over the top. The join will set, and as the glue reacts with the powder and dries off, it'll smoke up, and once you see that reaction, you'll know that the joint has set. You can see that held very, very quickly. I'll fill the base now. You've got this big gap down the bottom, so I'm going to fill it up with a little pebble so we don't use too much product. Put the powder over the top of it, squirt some glue, and that'll hold pretty quickly, and then you just repeat the process to build out your join. So we're doing it from that side first, and then I'll spin the rock around the other way, And I'll get another little pebble in that gap as well, so you guys can see here. Get a little gap in there, fill it with a pebble, get some powder on top and squirt it. And just keep repeating this process until you've built all of your joins around the bottom there. I'll come back and finish off all around the bottom edge here. I'm actually thinking about doing a bit of a sand fill instead of leaving it that rock look, but you can see how quickly that has held, and I could lift that rock structure up already and there's no problems at all. Just make sure your base is very level there so you can work out if it's rocky or not. Getting the shelf on is very easy. Basically just tack it on with the same process, powder and a bit of super glue. And once it's set, should hold just enough for you to be able to step back and have a look, just to make sure that that shelf is level if that's what you're after, or it's on the correct angle. But it's really important to step back and have a look to make sure you're happy with how it looks as well. And then you just set the join again, do another couple of sprinkles of the powder, not the pepper. Get the powder on there, some super glue, and just build out your join. Now it is quite a thin section there, so I'm going to fill that little gap there with a small pebble or rock. You can see it fits there really, really nicely. But it's also really important to make sure that you're taking into account how the coral is going to grow in your tank and whether you're leaving enough space between the two structures for coral to grow into. Obviously, because they're such large structures as well. So now that I'm happy with that, I'll chuck that pebble in there, put some powder over the top of it, and just squirt it with super glue just to hold it in place. You can see instantly I can essentially take my hand away and then just build out the join. And I'll rinse and repeat this over and over across all the different joins and structures, and then we'll come along and finish it. So that's the directions that are the rocks that I'm sort of wanting to go. This piece here, it's a beautiful piece, flat on top, but it's quite chunky. So if you had that at the front section, it'd be really in your face. But this nice thin section here would look really, really nice across the front there without sticking out too much. So we're going to build a leg for this to stick to. And you'll see this piece here with a pointed end there. It makes a really good contact point onto the glass without having a detritus trap essentially, because it's only just that point. So I'll attach it to this piece here. You see how it joins there. It's a really nice join, and I know that it's going to hold the plate across the front there. And then all we've got to do is just the same process. Just fill those gaps up with the powder that you've made, and then just add your super glue over the top, and you'll be able to literally just make this into one solid piece of rock, which I'm going to use to be my leg. Do the shallow ones first, and then if we come around the back side here of this, it's quite a big hole, so I'll use the granules to fill up the gap, and then the powder over the top just to finish the top. And just before it dries, I'll get another little bit of powder over the top, just so it's a dry look rather than seeing super glue. But even some of the sections that are too large, I'll get another piece of rock in there and just jam it in, and then just set it with the glue. And you can see there, pretty much once it's set, you can't pull these pieces of rock apart. Anytime I've had these break is literally the rock has broken before the join. And there you've got a leg. You can hit it and it's rock solid, pardon the pun. Then you literally just work out where your shelf's going to be and if it's going to reach a structure. In this case, I need to add just one more little rock, and you just keep going through the same process to attach it. But it's really important just to make sure you step back and have a look at the structure to make sure it's going in the right direction. Is it to scale? Is the shelf that's there big enough? Is everything on the right angle? It's terribly important to get that right, because you don't want to go through all this work of setting the joins and really building them out and then just realizing that that's not how you want to do it. So this will make it the full leg that's been built out, and I'll attach it to the rock work there. You can see that tip there, that's the only point that's touching the glass, and the shelf fits it to it really well. Once you've got a leg like this, take the opportunity to make sure you fill in everything correctly, because it's quite easy to just fill in the leg once it's separated like that. Attaching to the rock work is exactly the same. Everything is just the Marco Rock powder and then a squirt of glue over the top. Just tack it to hold it in place first to make sure you're happy, and then attach a shelf. Now you can see this section here is really skinny. There's not a lot of contact points, so I'm going to fill it out with a little bit more rock. and build it out. And that's the beauty of this process. You can just make it as big or as small or as thin as you really want, but any section that's too thin, you can just add some more rock and just build it out like this, and it makes for a very, very strong hold. And you can see the side there, a bit of a gap, so you just turn the structure sideways, get the powder in on the side there and squirt the glue. You can even add in a big chunky supporting piece like that, like I've just done there. It makes it very quick to do. You can see how quickly that joint is built out, and the structure is rock solid. Look at that, you can hold it up by the leg, that's supporting all the weight, no problems. By far the easiest method I've ever used, and a very, very quick method to scape with, and is extremely strong. Like that base there is only held on by 2 of the points that we did earlier, and that plate is holding on no problem. So while the structure's at this size, you can sort of turn it around upside down and get into all those gaps, fill them up with the powder, get the glue in there just to make sure that your structure is super strong and you're going to have no issues at all. Once you've actually finished building the structure, you can flip it over as well. I'm going to show you in a following video after this, but you can easily flip these structures over once they're done properly. Now I've got the front shelf here. I'm going to tack it on, and then you can put a little bit of rock to support underneath the shelf as well if the tack doesn't hold strong enough, because it's a significantly sized shelf. Actually, you can see that it does hold in that instance, but yeah, just step back and have a look to make sure it's on the right angle again. You don't want it to be off, because it's not going to be appealing to the eye. And this style of scape is all about having those level platforms for you to mount coral on. It's going to make mounting SPS colonies incredibly easy. It's something I'm actually really looking forward to. So I actually did jimmy it up a little bit just to make sure I can have the time and just to build out the rest of the join there. So you just add in some more little pebbles, sprinkle the powder over and set it with the glue. You can see all the different angles and platforms and shelves that are sticking out there, and it's starting to come together. And I've built out the join there, and you fill up those holes and just keep gluing. And you can't see where the joins are, which is fantastic. It just looks like one piece of rock. Obviously not natural looking rock, but you can't see the joins, which is what I love the most. And a couple of these shelves here, I've actually used a couple of different pieces to join together. And that is making sure I'm checking the angles. I built the arm out the back there, and that big chunky rock that was beautifully flat a little bit earlier. Putting the back section here, which will fill in that gap really, really nicely. And all you've got to do is just rinse and repeat the process, making sure your shelf is level, making sure there's contact points, and then just getting your Marco Rock powder in there, squirting some super glue on top, and just letting it set. As you can see, the process is incredibly easy to do, and it allows you to scape really quickly. Just rinse and repeat the process. The hold is so strong it allows you to do these floating shelves like I've done in the first scape in the back corner there. The arm is just free floating, but it's reinforced very well with this powder and glue method, so I know that it's very strong. But I'll let you guys just watch the rest of the time lapse here with some tunes kicking in the background. If you guys do like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, because I've got a part 2 coming to this scaping series of videos as well, on how to finish off your scape. I don't want you guys to miss out on that, and obviously watching the rest of this build evolve and getting this scape into the tank as well. So enjoy the tunes, guys. Catch you soon.
I've been going probably about 2.5 hours now, and I think I've got this to where I want it to be roughly, but I am going to go sleep on it and then come back with some fresh eyes tomorrow. So I'll show you guys now. Yeah, slants nicely from there down to here. There's big pads to mount corals on, and a couple of hanging branches out as well. Down to here. Plenty of space in here. It's a shame I'm going bare bottom because it looks really nice with sand, but. Brightness down. See the joins. Still got to go around and do a filling. You can see the joins there. You can't see them. So this piece over here. So super easy. Quick. Pretty good. So I'll see you guys in the morning.
For Century Business, can I just show everyone our Century Business too?
Yeah.
If I want to. That's our Century Business. And these are the tubs. You can see them clearly. It's actually the marble tub. So does each one has different size. Anytime. If you like this video, smack that like button and be sure to subscribe.
Stop recording.
Smack that like button and be sure to subscribe.